City Council Committee on Administration and Finance co-posted with the Committee of the Whole met in council chambers on Monday, June 4th, 2018 at 6 p.m. for the purpose of discussing the matters listed below. Notice this meeting was posted on May 25th, 2018 at 1:12 p.m. This meeting is being recorded. Also, please turn off your cell phone ringers. Councilor Dibble is absent. He had a death in the family, unfortunately, and could not be here tonight. The other members of the committee are here. We have multiple subjects related to the fiscal year 19 operating budget meetings and capital improvement plans for the following departments: assessor, collector, finance, budget transfers out from general fund, purchasing, administration, and fixed costs, treasurer, administration, debt assessments, pensions, Medicare, muni insurance, and enterprise funds, traffic and parking, IT, GIS, admin, and fixed costs, public property inspections, building, board of appeals, and fixed costs, health, electrical, and capital improvement plans. To start this off in our discussion this evening, we have the mayor and our finance director, and whichever department we want to start with, call them up as you like.
Well, Lori's going to be here the whole time, so.
I will be here.
So she's last.
Yeah.
That's the
Okay.
tradition. Who would you like to bring up first?
We can just do it alphabetical, I guess, the assessor.
All right, let's go to the assessor.
And Deb's always up for the challenge anyway, so.
Right?
And nothing much changes in our budget, so I'm not sure what kind of questions you have, but basically our duties pretty much stay the same year in and year out, assessing the property. Same staff, thankfully we've had the same staff now for almost 6 years, which is really helpful because everybody has their MAA, which is good, so the assessors are in good shape, the clerks are in good shape, everybody knows what they're doing. Just looking through, we do 13,000 plus tax bills we create every quarter, about 35,000 auto excise, 1,000 boat, a little bit of everything.
When are we due approximately for the next reassessment or a citywide reassessment?
2021. No, it's changed to 5 years now.
Right.
And we probably, at that time, will come in and, probably look for a little extra finances to do that.
Deb, can you just explain to some of the newer counselors what the reval process is? It used to be every 3 years and now it's every 5, so it might be worthwhile.
Basically, the state comes in, as she said, used to be 3 years, and really sort of combs our books, makes sure that we're using, analyzing the data in the way the state wants. Basically, every type of class of property, that means the industrial's one class, the multis are one class, the commercial's one class, the personal's one class, has to be within a 5% range of each other. So not to say we don't try and do it every year, but they really comb through absolutely every type of analysis. It's really drawing and quartering your database. Every year we do the same thing. Every year we send all our information into the Department of Revenue. They approve our values on an annual basis. Knock on wood, we've never had a problem with it, but they still look at them once a year. Our statistics have to line up. I look at it as really kind of a math problem, but we look at all the sales, we go out and inspect, we spend. Right now, we're sort of in crunch time to get building permits done because we have a June 30th cutoff. Assessments, it's as of January 1st each year. Salem goes through June 30th. That's just a mass law that we have done probably for 25 years. I don't know specific questions you might have, but.
Oh, thank you.
Any question, members of the committee?
Yeah, that makes sense.
We don't have any others, so seeing none, if anybody wants to make a motion. Councilor Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that we accept this budget for the assessor's office at $332,194.
Okay, Councilor Peterson. Seconded by Councilor Fury. So, seeing no further discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Just another note for everybody in the room, as you know, Eileen Sacco usually takes the notes for this. She is home watching this on TV because she is sick today, so she's taking the notes from home in another advancement of high technology for us.
Okay, so next I guess we'll have the IT department come up.
We have collector next in the whole thing, so.
Oh, Bonnie's not here. I get
Okay.
the collector, I guess.
Yeah,
or we
Bonnie
could
had a
wait.
death in her family.
Yes, her father passed away.
Oh, jeez, okay.
But we can go through her budget if we.
Yeah.
You want to go through that?
This one as well is pretty
It
straightforward.
is section 4. Section 4, 845. Yep. Okay.
No proposed staffing changes here. We do have a fully staffed department. We've had a little bit of a baby boom in the collector's office. Been joking about not drinking the water down there. But I think everybody's back, so we did need some short-term revenues, I think, last year just to help provide some additional floating staff. There's no major changes other than the collective bargaining increase on the personnel side. Non-personnel budget is pretty consistent with the prior years. Happy to, I mean, between Lori and myself, we can certainly answer any questions. Bonnie and her staff, I think, do a, yeoman's work in trying to be the customer service, doing a lot of customer service. People coming into the collector's office aren't always happy
No.
about being there. Bonnie also serves as the appeal officer for parking tickets, but I think she really tries to be consistent, but also tries to recognize if there's issues on our end, what they are and how best to address them. They handle resident sticker parking disbursement as well, so they've got a lot of on their plate beyond just collecting what you typically might see coming into a municipal office for taxes.
Yeah, and without sticking pointing finger too much at us, a lot of what they have to do is dealing with some of the weird rules that we have and
Or don't have, right?
or don't have, so they have to interpret those and try and take care of the residents without getting people too upset, so. Any questions on any of these matters?
Seems like there's nothing new really this year.
Pardon?
Seems like there's nothing new this year.
No, just the basic salary increases for the non-union, Councilor Flynn?
Motion to accept.
Sure, okay.
Budgeted
Yep.
$239,420.
Thank you. Councilor Flynn moves to accept the budget in the amount of $239,420, seconded by Councilor Peterson. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, so moved.
Okay, so I guess now we'll go to the IT department.
Hello.
So Matt's budget's a little bit more involved, so.
Well, let's get to the right section. Turn to the-
And there are a number of projects that he's working on, and maybe he can tell you a little bit about what's going on.
Sure. So as
Hang on, I gotta get to first, to section 5.
Tab
Check.
5.
8-43.
843.
43, 41 and 9.
Find it.
All right. Yep.
So I think you all know, the city and schools consolidated technology operations a few years ago. So my department provides services to public safety, general government, the school department, and all points in between. And so this budget is comprehensive of those services A to Z across the city. And Lori alluded to the projects. We have a number of projects going on at any given time, including in capital projects. The replacement of the telephone systems, the exceptionally old and cantankerous telephone systems in all of the school buildings, which follows on the replacement of the municipal system this current year. Continued replacement of equipment across the city, and scanning or digitization of records in the various departments. During the current year, we scanned somewhat more than 500,000 documents in the old annex building at 120.
It was a good preview for scanning out of the Community Life Center, out of the COA, which is moving into the CLC.
Right, exactly.
And so they're next online. And for those of you who may not be familiar, the reason we combined this chief information officer position between.
Because I lobbied you for 5 years?
Between schools and the city, in addition to being lobbied by would-be technology counselors. We also reached out to the Collins Center at UMass Boston to help us sort of do a review and analysis of what's the right model to have. We had people, sort of IT people, spread out in various areas, but didn't really have one chief overseeing it. So the schools would buy a software system that didn't always play well with something we were doing, or PD or inspectional services folks would need something, but it wasn't always a comprehensive approach. We really felt like, especially based on the information gathering, it would be helpful to have a chief officer who could help us with our IT needs, but also make sure that these things played well together. We were fortunate to be able to woo Matt here, who had experience both working in schools and in town hall in his last job, and has had a wealth of municipal experience as well, to help us sort of migrate from our older systems. Not having a chief information officer, I think we still called it data processing prior to this reorganization, and it showed. So what we've been able to do in terms of investing in technology, in some instances helps us provide better customer service. Certainly, in other instances, it helps improve our practices, which I think makes us more efficient. And all of that really needs to play together. You know, I mean, having the Passport app on your phone ties into every department in here in one way, shape, or form. The credit card fees we collect, making sure we have the infrastructure in all of our municipal locations to handle that bandwidth is really critical. And the position for us has allowed us to sort of think about how to better use those resources in governing, for sure. So it's a lot on the plate, but it has put in place better practices and better efficiencies, and sometimes some cost savings. I joke with him that everything costs $1 million in IT. There's no sort of $1 million projects; they're all $1 million, but they do, provide the level of service that I think folks are interested in, and certainly helpful to have his eyes with the sci-fi contract that we're working on, and trying to think about how we can improve what's happening for the residents who live here as well.
Yeah, I notice I don't see myself in the employee list because you guys get me for free on that stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. Those are my favorite consultants,
Right?
free ones. Yeah.
Exactly. When I was like, I'm already getting paid. I'll ask one question just on ongoing project. Where are we at with the municipal fiber ring?
The municipal fiber ring is complete.
All right, I wasn't sure where we are. That's wonderful news to hear, because that's and just for the benefit of the non-tech people here, we have that's just saying that benefits us outside of the project that's now before us, the citywide. This is something that was being worked on as investment beforehand for connecting municipal buildings.
Great.
So, any questions for Matt? Councilor Fury.
On the issue of MCAS in schools, there's a great divide. Some students, families do not have computers, enough computers at home. They're not being used properly, whatever it may be. And then we're going to go to statewide MCAS testing eventually, very soon, on the computer. How has it worked in Salem with the MCAS? I noticed it on the, how does it work?
I would say extremely well. I would certainly welcome any input that the school department could provide you on that, but from a technical perspective, when I arrived here as a result of the consolidation that the mayor spoke about, having already had some interaction with the State Department of Education and others, I was aware that we were headed that way. So I think it was in my first 2 or 3 weeks, we put together a project to completely overhaul the communications infrastructure in all the schools throughout Salem, and revamp, I guess I would say, the computer inventory to address what would be needed so the students would have what they needed at hand when it was time to test. The first MCAS online test in Salem was actually conducted last year, 1 grade level, and it went, I think, exceptionally well. This year we actually did 2 grade levels online. It went very well. Again, from a technical perspective, I can't speak to the curricular aspect of things, but from a technical perspective, it went very well. We had, I won't say 0 problems, but 0 significant problems. Next year we expect, I believe it's either 4, I may get this wrong, but it will be more than 2, and I'll say less than 7 grades will test online. So you're absolutely correct. The state, and I think nationally, every state department of education is headed that way. You get much more rapid feedback on the test results. I'm sure you know it used to be with the handwritten assessment tests, you'd take it in, say, March, And you might get the scores back the following November, or maybe even the February after that, which makes it exceptionally difficult to try to intervene if there's a student that needs some special attention. Now you can get the test results much more quickly.
There's also the initiative on the state to actually correct it by computer too.
Yes.
To make it easier, more fair, and less laborious and time consuming
Yes.
on teachers
Yes.
evaluating the MCAS. So thank you very much for getting us in the 21st century. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from members of the committee?
Motion approved, please.
Okay. Seeing none, Councillor Fury moves to approve the information technology GS budget in the amount of $871,209. Seconded by Councillor Flynn. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Is there all set? Is there anything extra in that to get him an iPhone?
We're going to slip one into his pocket one of these days. Just a quick question. Did you want me to address any of the IT capital projects, or will you be just...
No, that's all, it's detailed within, and we know pretty much where that's going. If you want to address any stuff if you want to address for our sake any of those that you particularly want to draw attention to, absolutely.
Okay.
We'd love to hear about them, so.
I already touched on them just
Well,
briefly.
I'd love to hear about them. I don't know about I don't know about people who aren't technology people.
I touched on, I just didn't know if you wanted to hit that, but I touched on them just briefly. There's a large capital project in there for the replacement of the telephone systems. This is
Yep.
district-wide throughout all of the schools to both standardize those telephone systems and get them to a point where they'll work. So that, I wanted to touch on that. We have the ongoing digitization project as well. And then the other two really are more routine computer equipment replacement, network equipment replacement, that sort of thing.
Yeah, we're cycling a little better on that than we had been.
Yes, we're trying to get to be a little more predictable instead of these large peaks and valleys.
Yep.
The two caveats I'd add is the voice over IP transition in the school department. This is phase 2. Phase 1 was City Hall, so we did that undertaking already, and that's in place here. So the next logical place is the schools, where they're still using like Merlin phones.
Yeah.
And it's pretty outdated. We also think that will help in terms of how calls can be directed. There are times when parents will say it might take a long time to get to a body at the high school, and this system can prove to be a little bit more effective and efficient in terms of those operations. And the digitization, like what a big project that is. I think we're going to be doing digitization for a number of years. So just because we have so much paperwork, as we think about trying to move forward in a way that enables less storage files, I think we're all more cognizant of how many copies of an agenda go in a file, like extras of paper, and trying to really, I won't say yes to paperless, because I don't think that's realistic, but being more thoughtful about how we're storing things and where it's being stored. And we're moving through departments where there have been moves, so rather than paying to move that stuff and then digitize it, trying to do that at a time. But we haven't really tackled City Hall yet, so this phase will take on, another iteration, but I have a feeling it will be a capital project for a while in terms of what we need to do there.
I have one minor question about technology takeaways. I'm curious with the voice over IP transition. Are people taking advantage of things like Find Me, Follow Me technology within the departments?
Some are. Some are, yes.
All right, go ahead.
Well, in the interview process on the city clerk's position, and some of the questions that we asked was technology, lo and behold, and some of the cities and towns of the candidates have used CPA funds historical research, historical preservation. What's your thoughts about that? Because this is the second oldest city hall in the country. Our documents date way back in the 17th century. Where are we in, say, scanning and digitizing city hall records?
So there are two main themes associated with this project. The first is reducing our paper volume, as the mayor alluded, and being more efficient and more 21st century. But also, for me, preservation. The community where I was before coming here, exactly the same thing. We had records from 1626 and 1728 that, if not properly cared for, will molder away to nothing. The ink will become illegible, the paper will crumble to dust. So it was very important to digitize and scan and preserve and protect those records. So we did use CPA funds to do a large part of that project. I'm not sure that the current CPA rules still allow for that. I think there's been some changes in the CPA. But if so, I think that's an excellent use of those funds to preserve those old records before we lose them.
I think, Mr. Chairman, I think several of the candidates, several of the people involved mentioned CPA, not just one. From Massachusetts, used CPA. So they are currently, some are currently using CPA for scanning and documentation and preservation, which is critical.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I just add one other thing that
Yeah.
I think may come up in the schools, and that's, you mentioned, Councilor Fury, the testing going on for MCAS. We're also rolling out a one-to-one program at the high school that comes on the heels of the one-to-one program that operates out of Collins Middle School. So there will be some additional resources, both city and families moving towards looking at the rollout for the one-to-one program with Google Chromebooks up for freshmen moving into the high school, and then it'll roll up every year thereafter.
Thank you.
So just want to make note of that.
Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot. Just if we can, Councilor Peterson?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Did we approve Section 8, page 46 as well? Or I might have missed if we did that. There's a separate,
Oh, the fixed costs.
yeah.
I don't, you guys didn't vote on it.
Oh, sorry, we missed that. Thank you for catching that one. Let me jump back. I missed the second page, that's my
I
bad.
think that was what he was talking about, but we didn't approve it.
Yeah, it's actually not the capital stuff, but that's the maintenance, the contracts and all the
Yeah,
like.
these are ongoing cost items as opposed to items that we.
Phone
brought on
bills.
board for bid.
Phone bills, internet bills, all the
Software
Software
licenses.
software
Yeah.
licenses. Yeah, all the details, munis, everything else. Yeah, no, I missed that one, my bad. If anybody has a question on that or wants to make a motion, Councilor Peterson?
I have just a question. It's a bigger jump than some of the other things that we've seen, so I just wanted to just hear about that before we vote.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Hard to escape.
So I think we're looking at the fixed costs?
Fixed costs, yes.
Yes. So the increase that I think you're observing there is the impact, basically, of prior capital projects that are now having an operating budget impact. So some of those larger, more expensive things that we've done that now carry, say, a licensing fee or what have you, those costs are now being picked up in the operating budget.
Yeah, there's an increase on the Microsoft licensing side, for instance.
Exactly. I often make the comparison, when you build a new building, now you have a new light bill.
And so is this a pretty typical increase year over year for these costs, or is this
No,
more?
not year over year, no.
Okay.
This is more the aggregate of projects that have accumulated over the last couple of years. Yes.
So is this larger than usual? A larger percentage jump than usual?
Larger than usual, just in the sense that they're coming together at the same time,
Right.
because we had to do a number of projects early on, and so they're all more or less coming due at about the same time.
Okay.
Typically, going forward, we would expect that to see a slower rate of advance.
Okay.
There's also
Thank
a
you.
few licensing costs that came out of the school's budget, where they used to sit and
Okay.
and consolidated into the overall IT budget.
Okay. That makes sense to me.
Councilor Peterson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move that we approve the fixed costs for IT at 984,046.
Okay. Councilor Peterson moves to accept the ITGS fixed cost budget of $984,046.
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Fury. Okay. Any no further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? So moved.
Thank you again.
Thank you again. We enjoyed it so much, we had you back.
Good night.
All right. I was going to suggest that the next one we might want to do would be, especially also because there's a lot of CIP involved, would be traffic and parking. And then go to purchasing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Why not?
Also, it's right up there in the sequential order.
Hello. I'm Nick Downing. I'm currently the acting director of traffic and parking. Matt Smith very conveniently left right before we got into budget season and looking at some downtown parking rate restructuring. So I'm taking over in the interim. So traffic and parking, obviously still a relatively new department as far as the city is concerned. I think this is only our second or maybe third time through the budget cycle. But we do have some relatively big changes, I think, in terms of personnel that we're proposing and requesting in this year's budget. First and foremost is relatively a higher than the 2% increase for the Assistant Director of Parking Operations, Alan Soloway. Alan was the acting director of the department before Matt was hired. I know during Matt's tenure, he relied on Alan's kind of institutional memory, very much so. I've continued to rely on Alan's institutional memory of how everything on the operations side of traffic and parking really works. This increase would bring Alan more in line with the other assistant directors kind of throughout city government. And I think it's something that it's important because it's also adjusting him in terms of the shift supervisors that he's actually overseeing within the parking department as well. Like I said, Alan's institutional memory has been invaluable to Matt. It's been invaluable to me in the time I've just been acting director. And I think it's a well-earned raise for him going forward. We also have proposed some new personnel and enforcement. We all know that parking enforcement is an issue that I'm sure you all hear about. I hear about it all the time as well. That's in part because we have a lot of enforcement needs within the city, and we have a relatively small team of people who's doing that. We currently have 2 full-time and 2 part-time enforcement staff. That's to cover all of our downtown paid parking, all of the resident parking we have throughout the city, and any and other parking restrictions that we might have in place, whether that's bus parking, no parking zones, or anything like that. So this increase in enforcement personnel would allow us to perform more regular and routine enforcement throughout the course of the day. As we've been looking at parking utilization data, one thing that we've seen in all of our paid downtown parking is there's a relatively substantial drop in paid revenue that comes in after a certain time in the afternoon. And we know that that is at least in part due to the fact that there are regular parkers who kind of know when the routes happen and when they don't happen, and they know when they do and don't need to feed the meter. So this would allow us to actually do more routes throughout the course of the day to make sure that we're actually capturing the revenue that we should be, making sure that we're not letting folks park in those very valuable downtown spots for free throughout the course of the day. So those are the big kind of personnel changes we have coming forward. It's a little funny in the narrative to read about one of the accomplishments from the last year being the hiring of the assistant parking director, because that was me. But I'm glad that Matt thought that it was worthy of noting. I joined the department last October, right after Halloween, which may or may not have been planned, and it's been great so far. And like I said, I've taken over since Matt's departure as acting director. I'll leave it at that because I know that we do, as Councilor Terrell mentioned, we have a lot of CIP related items in our budget as well, but happy to field any and all questions.
Councilor Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I have a couple of questions. So with the new enforcement that you're proposing, I'm a big fan. I get those questions all the time. But I was wondering if you have run the numbers and whether you have a sense that the revenue that would be coming in would supersede
Right.
what we're investing in it?
I think for the enforcement team, absolutely. So with the enforcement group that we have right now, the last couple of years, they have routinely brought in about between 4 and 5 times their annual salary in terms of parking fine revenue for the city. So it's an investment that sees a return both in terms of the revenue to cover them, additional revenue beyond what they actually cost, but then also actually making sure that folks are paying for the parking where it's paid parking, that our resident permit parking actually means something, that's actually protecting the parking for residents that we put it in place to.
Yeah, I'll say my goal always on the enforcement side is I'm perfectly happy if it's revenue neutral, where we, the money we bring in fines just pays for the people who do it, because that's what gets you order in your parking, and especially I'll say, over the last few years, I've worked with the department a lot to try and increase enforcement in my neighborhood because we have SSU impacts that are heavy. So, and we've had a lot of changes due to changes in their building configurations and properties it's a big quality of life issue in a lot of the neighborhoods to have parking enforcement.
Yeah. I mean, I will say that this is the biggest, I'm sure for any board councilors, this is the biggest complaint that I get. So I feel like if we're going to heavily invest anywhere, I would definitely vote for this department. And they've been really, really visionary and helpful since I started in January. I've sort of been leaning on them a lot in every neighborhood. So a great use of our investment.
So the only CIP thing that I'll ask about offhand here is what are we looking at in the Church Street parking reconfiguration? What's the?
Sure. So the Church Street reconfiguration that we have done kind of a conceptual drawing of just within the department is one of the things that we're looking at to try and just more efficiently use the parking assets that we already have. We don't have a space necessarily that we could, or the finances to build another 1,000-space parking garage like Museum Place Garage anywhere. So we want to look at opportunities for where we can add parking downtown. And we think that a reconfiguration of the Church Street lot is one way where we can do that. The major change would be to kind of limit the number of entry and exit points for those lots right now. If you're all familiar with it, there's one-way Church Street and one-way Federal Street on either side of the lots. There's a couple of different ways in and out of the lots. We've got that weird kind of one-way island that sends traffic almost the wrong way down Church Street before it directs you around if you happen to see the sign. So the conceptual plan that we have would basically limit the access points to a new kind of parking access road that actually would connect from Church Street to Federal. That's how you would enter both lots. And we'd get rid of the other entry and exit points. We'd actually be able to use some of the current space kind of between the smaller Church Street East lot and that parking island to gain some additional parking there. That lot is far and away one of the most highly utilized in the city. It regularly and routinely has occupancy that's actually above 100%, which means as soon as the space is open, somebody's moving right in to take it. And overall, the rough estimate that we've looked at, we would be able to add, I think, at least 40 spots between the two lots through this. Like I said, that's kind of the early conceptual phase. The number that we have in the CIP was based on information that we got from the engineering department about kind of general costs for new curbing and kind of doing a full lot repair and replacement there. And so the goal will be to bring that to an engineering firm to do the kind of final and ultimate design.
Okay, just one pie in the sky thing. Has there been any, I know there's wildly divergent views on whether it's a good idea or not. Has there been any talk about potentially looking at building a deck on that, or is that just not worth it, most likely?
So structured parking gets expensive very quickly to the tune of about $40,000 or $50,000 per space. You could certainly put a deck on those lots, but whether or not the city had the kind of financial ability to do so, I think it gets expensive very quickly when we have a parking asset like the Museum Place Garage kind of right across the way that we know already has some upcoming serious maintenance needs as well. I think it might make more sense to continue to invest in that to give it some legs and some more years rather than kind of sinking some serious money. Because I mean, when you're looking at just the west side of that lot is about 130 spaces. So at $40,000 or $50,000 a pop to add a deck, that gets expensive very quickly.
Can I just build off that a little bit? So I know that in the past, the feeling was always that we were going to put a second lot there. Two things have really impacted that. One is the geotech. The soils there are not great at all. It'd be very, very costly, at least preliminary estimates showed, because of the quality of the soils material beneath the ground there. The second thing is through the Urban Land Institute, a number of the technical assistance panels we've done, when you think about where you're going to put a garage, the place you typically don't want to put a garage is right next door to another parking garage. You really create a tunnel down that roadway without a lot of activity, a lot of stagnation. If you're going to think about those lots, they're owned by the Salem Redevelopment Authority, and they actually we've had two technical assistance panels, one maybe 12 years ago, and one more recently, where they really looked at it and said, if you're going to do anything there, you'd want to think about mixed use. Some additional parking, of course, but you'd want to have an arcade of activity going down that corridor so that you don't have this, it would become a driveway for people looking for parking, not necessarily an active, thriving part of our community. They look at the triangle closer to Superior Court, the triangle of where the Church Street lot is, and other historic properties, the courthouse, the crescent-shaped lot, the T, like how do you link those in such a way to create both some enhanced parking to support those uses, but also something that could be much more of an active use, not just a closed-off use like parking. You already have the pedestrian mall, then you have this parking garage between it. If you put another parking garage on the next block, you really need to think about what that's going to do to the activity level in that area. And so, I think the more likely scenario would probably be looking at Riley Plaza, where it's much more centrally located. It serves a lot of what's happening with the new hotel and the additional development happening in that neck of the woods. So we will need to have a conversation about additional parking when you look at the utilization rates. We're trying to enhance parking in areas where we already have it. So if we can pick up 40 or 50 spaces there, we pick up some additional spaces at Riley Plaza with similar treatment of looking at those curb lines, looking at the striping of those facilities. Is there some capacity? And design firms have told us they think we can get some additional parking without necessarily going up. But ultimately, I think we're probably going to need some kind of a structure somewhere. And most likely that would probably closer to the Riley Plaza location than someplace tucked away right here at least.
And also, I think on Church Street, there's a circulation benefit to it. I think because right now, the way the entrances and exits to those lots are situated, if you miss one, it's kind of tough to get back in and go around if you aren't able to find parking. So by, again, kind of consolidating where you go into and out of both of those lots, if you find yourself not able to find parking, it's much easier to proceed into the next lot rather than kind of the weird circle that you have to do, which happens a lot kind of through downtown with the one-ways that we have right now.
My one suggestion for circulation is, in general, in the downtown, is get rid of one of the two crosswalks here on Washington Street that are right next to each other.
Yeah, I think that is something that we could, as we think about Essex Street getting completed, that last portion from Essex to North, could try and take a look at. Townhouse Square, it's really now 3 active ones because we've gotten more active outside of City Hall with the reactivization of the Red Lion building as well. So for sure, that would help.
Councilor Fury.
Mr. Chairman, under the Driscoll's administration, we've gotten a lot of money, Gateway Cities and other grants, and she's gone after every single grant in store to fix up parks to an amazing level. But some of that, you have to put security in there to make sure it doesn't get vandalized because of a great deal of investment. So it's nice to have security there to show that we're keeping track of these parks and restoring them every 5 years with a new grant. Has the Parking Commission, you given any thought to security cameras in the garages for safety, security, insurance, whatever it may be?
So one of the items in our CIP request is for a camera system for the Museum Place garage for that very reason. We know that there have been a whole host of different problems in and around the Museum Place garage in terms of especially the stairwells, even though we've recently redone them, and just general security accessing the garage, especially after the mall kind of closes down. So there's money in the CIP that would actually install a camera system. We recently, I believe in last year's budget, we hired some overnight personnel for both garages, and that's been an improvement as well. But the camera system is an important investment that we hope to make through the CIP as well.
Does the T garage in the Salem State University garage have a security system?
I don't know if those facilities do. My gut would tell me that the MBTA garage likely has some amount of cameras, maybe not a full camera system, but maybe on some of the entries and exits, and I wouldn't be able to speak to
I believe the SSU has them in the stairwells at least.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
Can I just, while Nick is here, I want to make sure I point out that our budget is incorporating some of the rate restructuring that the Traffic and Parking Commission is reviewing right now. We're hoping that they'll complete the review in June. There's an analysis that's been done looking at, the comprehensive parking study that was done in 2010, I think it was. A number of the items have been implemented, but they're also working so well where we really need to go back and take a look at where our rates are working well and where we're not getting that 15% turnover as much as we'd like on street in terms of on-street parking availability. The other component that we're concerned about is these investments in parking facilities, be they cameras, be they upgrades in elevators, the most recent upgrades we've made to the parking stairwells, the signage, the improvements. Some of the other things we've talked about, adding parking enforcement officers, important. They'll bring in some additional revenue. I hope they bring in enough to cover themselves. We don't do it for revenue. We do it to make sure the rules are being enforced. But they do require us to have a rate restructuring at 25 cents an hour in the South Harbor Garage and slightly more at Museum Place. Like, we're losing money when people pay with a debit card. So at the very least, we will be submitting that to the council for
It
approval.
was already
but-
submitted, I think, or didn't it? Or no, we just got the email about it.
It's with traffic and parking right
Yeah.
now. I want traffic and parking to vet it out. I mean, this will be something that's a sticky wicket. Many of you know, parking downtown in particular, we're serving the employees who are downtown all day. We're serving residents who live downtown and may be here during the day or just in the evening. We're serving patrons who are coming in for short-term visits, and it's hard to serve all of those masters effectively well. Well, I think we've got some plans in place to try and improve upon what we're doing, but some of that it does require a sort of a peak period pricing and looking at adjusting some of those rates, and that ultimately will come before the council. We wanted to make sure traffic and parking vetted. They've spent a lot of time on these issues, not just Nick and Matt before him, but the Traffic and Parking Commission members. I think they're a pretty thoughtful group. And so we'll suss it out over the next few weeks. But it is something that ultimately, I want to be clear, we're going to need this council to vote on that rate restructure, because we're incorporating some of those revenues into this budget to help offset some of those items we talked about.
Councilor Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. I have a question about that, because I know I've gotten some pushback from, I guess, and Councilor Flynn may have also, in terms of being neighborhoods that are far from downtown, people wanting to get into town. And I know we've been talking also about the shuttle. And so I think of these as kind of hand in hand in terms of how to think about getting our residents into downtown. Can you give us a little update on that, and if, how that might play out over the next year?
Well, the shuttle in particular, shuttle's really planning and development, although, we got a tough foundation grant. So I think we've had Matt around the table, and
Yes.
Nick's welcome to that conversation as well. But we've got a draft that I think is just getting underway, a draft report that will help guide us. We are all in on a shuttle system, but we also want it to be one that will work and be able to serve those communities on the outskirts of Salem. But we still have to serve folks who are coming into town and make sure that they're paying for parking to support some of these long list of items. I think the cameras are $210,000 is an estimate. So that should come from parking fees, right? From the people using those facilities. And that's one of the reasons the rate restructuring is so vital. There's really no such thing as free parking. A piece of real estate on the street costs money to maintain, to repair, to keep clean. And we don't want to discourage anybody from coming downtown, but there are parking locations where people stay in a space for a really long period of time.
Right.
And we are looking for that turnover, looking to offset the cost and investments of the repairs, and also hoping to use some of those resources to enhance parking. We know we need additional areas to support that. The shuttle system is one that we're definitely interested in implementing. This information coming from the final report will help guide us. How big, how tall, how wide, what size, all that information. So it's not incorporated in this budget, but it is something that we're mindful that we want to implement.
Okay.
And I think in that same vein, in terms of kind of the resident issues as they relate to parking, part of the proposal that we have put before the Traffic and Parking Commission would actually include resident rates at some of our parking facilities. So that would be the two garages, as well as any municipal lot where we have parking kiosks, so the pay-by-plate system. We have money both proposed in the budget and through the CIP for additional parking kiosks, and our plan is to eventually replace all of our on-street meters with those kiosks, which means those resident rates will begin to kind of roll out to more of the paid parking system. Initially, the goal is to make sure that we've kiosked all of our parking lots. So we recently installed kiosks at the Crombie Street lot. The next lot that we'd be doing would be Sewell Street, and then after that, Clop Alley. So once we can get all of the lots kiosked, then we can roll resident rates out to those. Because it's pay by plate, we can just load in every car that's registered in the city of Salem. And then as we continue to replace the meters with kiosks, we can include those resident rates going forward as well.
I think that's a great tool.
Yeah, I think that's a terrific idea, having resident rates.
Yeah.
That are automated.
Technology.
Well, we've come a long way from meters and, crossing your fingers that you're not noticed and stuff, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you.
Councilor Flynn.
Through the chair, I just had a question about the building equipment and maintenance on your expenses. And that went up pretty substantial. You had a request of 145, 124, and it came in from the mayor's at 120, 124.
So I think that is in part just a general increase. One of the issues that we've seen is, especially with the Museum Place garage, is substantial deferred maintenance. So we are trying to increase our overall maintenance budget so that we don't continue to find ourselves in scenarios like we have with the Museum Place garage, where we know that's going to require, in the millions of dollars to extend the useful life of that facility.
Right.
So we want to be kind of doing this routine maintenance still at the Museum Place garage, for the South Harbor garage, and for all of our existing lots,
Right.
so that we can kind of stay ahead of the curve a little bit, and we don't find ourselves needing to come back to the council for things like the emergency capital spending for things like the garage repairs or some of those leaking issues and electrical issues that we've seen elsewhere.
Also, just the major addition in this budget that I can see is the maintenance on the garage systems, the automated garage systems. If you look at that in the line items on 862.
I think the thought was, instead of keep coming back every time you have an issue arise
Yep.
with free cash, that the better use would be to put in the budget, the maintenance that needs to happen and should be happening to extend the life of the facilities, and to be able to add some of these additional components so that we can offer lower rates to the residents and that type of thing. But if we don't start doing some of these maintenance items, the garage is going to have a lower or a shorter lifespan. And, that's another reason why we spent a lot of time, and Matt spent a lot of time before he left, going through and trying to figure out what would make sense in terms of a capital plan going out, and then how much money we need to try to raise from the program.
We didn't share, I don't know that we've done a full report with the full city council, but we did pay Walker, one of the most respected sort of garage reviewers, to come in and do a full top to bottom review of this garage. It's been around over 30 years, starting to worry about, okay, how much longer does it have? How much more of an investment do we need to make? The good news is, given the age and the maintenance that has or has not gone into it, it's actually in decent shape. And so we've got a plan going forward, how to maintain this garage long term, which also comes with some costs. It needs some work in addition to the work that's already been done, but now we have a plan going forward. We know what we're going to need to invest on a regular basis to keep that garage in a good state of repair, and that you'll see in the CIP moving forward. Plans for us to sort of think about that. If we're going to get another 20 years out of this facility, here are the things that we need to do. And that definitely means you can't charge 75 cents an hour, right? To encourage, to allow for that. Nor would you want to not have nearly 1,000 spaces in your downtown. So we are trying to be thoughtful, not just throw things up against the wall. The technology that we have now can tell us more about utilization. It allows us to sort of really pinpoint if we want to do something on a residential rate, if we want to think about changing rates on weekends or lowering rates on weekends. So you can really look at your utilization rates and determine how best to ensure that we're not croaking people, but we do need to raise revenues to pay for the costs associated with maintaining that particular structure.
To finish that part, was there something that won't be able to get repaired? Where, you had a request of 50,000 and it's down to 25 on the power washing and garage repairs?
But keep in mind, the budget for this year was $82,000, so we did increase it $40,000.
But specifically though, was there something in that line that they wanted to repair?
I
Or they
think the
wanted to do
biggest-
more
yeah.
that was cut out?
Yeah, I think the biggest increase was for the automated maintenance system, the 25
Right.
grand. So that we definitely didn't want to take out because we know we need that. And then if there are more repairs than we have funding for, we have a capital project in to do some upgrades. So parts of the garage will be upgraded as part of the CIP. And, we're hoping that means we'll have to spend less on some of the regular maintenance because part of those areas will be improved. But
I also think that depending on what the revenues are, because we're trying to be conservative in the thought process around that, so you don't want to overspend before you know exactly what kind of revenues we can bring in. So, as we figure out what those needs are, we'll be trying to make some changes in terms of having it be part of the budget versus being a free cash ask.
Okay, thank you.
Right?
Any further questions? Councilor Fury?
Has any thought been given to the island as we enter into the museum garage place coming in from Church Street? It's kind of a confusing entrance now because one of the islands is closed off. Cars used to go up that island, in the island going into the main entrance. Has any thought been given to eliminating the island? I know it's going to be all substructure and repair to take out those cobblestones and the piping underneath and so on, make a clearer entrance exit situation. Any thought on that?
Yeah, so there's been a couple of different discussions about that. A year or two ago, we commissioned just to look at kind of the whole redo of that entire intersection, which was a pretty substantial cost that came back to us to the tune of, I think, well over $400,000 to do a lot of the work all around that. That was to do kind of much beyond just that intersection alone. We more recently looked at just the potential to actually add some ADA compliant crosswalks across Brown Street and across New Liberty, kind of through the cobblestone island. That came in at a much lower cost, but we also think there's actually an opportunity there to potentially look at ways to kind of fill in that slip lane a little bit and kind of connect the sidewalk with the island to create more of a pedestrian plaza there. It could potentially also serve as a good location for motor coach or bus pickup and drop off as well. So there are a few different things that we're looking at, but that intersection without a doubt needs at a minimum an ADA crossing going across Brown Street and across New Liberty. And if we add a crossing across New Liberty that would kind of go through the cobblestone island, we'll have to figure out how to bring that crossing in an accessible way to connect to the rest of the sidewalk infrastructure there. So it's absolutely on our radar.
We
as being an
hate
important
that
pedestrian
entryway.
connection. Yeah.
It's really awkward for pedestrians and for cars,
Yeah.
but it's not inexpensive to kind of reframe it for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions, members of the committee? Seeing none? Councilor Peterson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that we accept this budget at 1029545.
Councilor Peterson moves to accept the traffic and parking budget of $1,029,545, seconded by Councilor Fury. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Darren.
Okay, next would be purchasing.
Sure. Welcome back, Tom.
Thank you. Good to be back. So just to get right up into it, it's good to be back and before you again. No major changes really in terms of personnel within the purchasing office, other than myself starting in the end of January this past year. My assistant, Mitzi O'Brien, has been around for a little bit too, so we're both kind of fairly new to the office, and we're making adjustments, and we're so far been a great team and working well with each other, and looking forward to continuing that in the next fiscal year. We have one of the smaller, I think, budgets really, both on the operating side and fixed cost side within the city. One of the ironic things I like to say about the purchasing office, which is really the buying arm of the city, is that we don't really buy anything. We really just approve the purchases of other departments and making sure that they're in conformance with Mass General Law.
You guys are small but mighty.
Small but mighty, yeah. We hold a lot of ground, yeah. So I'd say probably one of the bigger changes that is within the operating side of our expenses is that we shifted over $1,000 from contracted services over into our meetings budget and state travel budget, and that really is to compensate my assistant Margaret O'Brien for the different classes she'll be taking to attain her certification, her MCPPO certification. So we're getting training out for that. And then on the fixed cost side, we have a $3,000 increase on the copier budget, and that is due to the fact when the move took place from 120 over to 98 Washington Street, starting in FY19, we will be absorbing the cost of the old engineering copy machine that is now actually with the health department. So the extra $3,000 is just really to absorb the cost of that new lease that we will be paying for going forward. We spent a lot of time over the past few months doing education in the office with other departments. Education for me has always been a big part of what I do. The more people who are informed and educated about the different procurement laws that are out there, and they are complex, is a benefit to all, I think. So I'm in a better position to approve recs and purchase orders when they come before me rather than reject them. So we've been holding trainings on both rec entry and the Mass General Law Chapter 30B and some of the other different procurement laws. And we'll be doing some more as we go forward into the next fiscal year as well.
So we joke about the department being small and but mighty, and it really does have a number of responsibilities. One of which is making sure our department heads are trained and the staff that they're working with in the proper way to offer requisitions or move forward with requisitions and purchase orders, and also to help make sure that when we're conducting the number of bids that we do, I think many of you know, we procure services and contracts even when we don't have to, because we really value that solicitation process. Mm-hmm. We need to have certified public purchasing official status. Both Tom has it, of course, and is a leader in the Mass Public Purchasing Officers Association, but we also want his assistant Mitzi O'Brien to have that, and really trying to train our department heads more thoughtfully around what those rules are so that they can take some ownership of those responsibilities as well, and that there aren't surprises when we're going out to bid or trying to procure services. So I'm really grateful. This is a department that we rely on to make sure we're doing things the right way, and needs to interface with just about every single department in the city, as well as with the town of Swampscott. We do a lot of their purchasing,
Yep.
And as part of a regional agreement we have with them. So it's a busy place, no doubt about it.
Certainly busy. So we approve upwards of 8,000 recs a year from both the city side and the school side. Mm-hmm. And on the bid side, we do on average maybe about 55 to 60 bids a year, another dozen or so for Swampscott as well. So we're certainly busy in that respect, and we are trying to work with Swampscott to look at some avenues and some potential opportunities to sort of combine bids and combine services, and we'll be doing that particularly with the trades going forward, and also bringing some of our current trades contracts into compliance with the Mass Municipal Modernization Act that passed in November of 2016 as well.
We also get some revenue to help offset the cost of the operation from the town of Swampscott as well.
I was going to say, I noticed one thing here is that you have, in previous budgets, I recall there's the $10,000 budget item for stipends off Swampscott, and it's been zeroed out here. Does that mean we're just taking that money from them directly back into the general fund?
You got it.
So there's no more expense on that side. The expense has been eliminated, we're just pocketing it.
You got it.
Works for me.
I mean, the revenue comes in, we just,
Yeah.
it's kind of came in, we had to put it in a special revenue account or budget for it. This is way easier, just the revenue comes in to offset the cost of the operation. And it's higher than $10,000 now. I think we're up to
25.
Thank you.
That's a nice little offset for the services, so.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Any questions, members of the committee? Councilor Fury?
Mr. Chairman, having your experience now in Swampscott, in North Reading, can you bring any new ideas from that town government, say North Andover, when you were in North Andover? Have you brought any of their best practices into Salem? Swampscott, we've done Swampscott over years. Have you seen anything we could do better compared to North Andover?
Well, I touched upon a little bit about the Mass Municipal Modernization Act that passed in November of 16. So that act, many of you may know, helped to improve a lot of the made a lot of financial practices and procedures a little bit more efficient and brought them into the year 2000, 2000 really 18 or 16 at the time. And part of that was allowing for trades contracts to be procured of upwards of $50,000 at a really a pop really. So we can hire multiple trades contractors for a particular trade for up to $50,000 worth of service for a one-time project, where before it was $10,000. So I'm starting to take a hard look at that. I'm trying to centralize as many services that we can. I've found a few instances right now where we have different departments using the same vendor under different types of contracts. So we'll be procuring those contracts, those service contracts under one contract as opposed to multiple contracts, hopefully getting a better bang for our buck in that instance too. So,
I think one other project that we're hoping to get some experience from Tom on is looking at DPW yards. So in the community you just came from, they actually put out an RFI for their current yard and then ended up building, or in the midst of building, a new facility. We have a DPW facility on Margin Street that's going to need either us to upgrade in that facility, or do we want to take a look at an alternative facility The Salem transfer station site has been mentioned and certainly could afford us. It's a little bit, it's not essentially located, but it would offer a layout and a space accommodation that might better suit us long-term if we're going to make an investment. And that's some analysis we're going to have to undertake in the next fiscal year. Are we investing in the current facility and staying put? Are we thinking about that current facility, what other uses or interests there might be? It's closer to the downtown. It certainly could accommodate housing or something else. And then what would that offset look like if we wanted to move the transfer station and invest in a facility that could serve us long-term on other city-owned land? So you were part of a team that led that effort. That's pretty complicated to sort of look at both the request for interest in the current facility and better understand what potential you have for a new facility on the existing land that we have. But it's an exercise we need to go through given the fact that the current space is going to need some upgrades, and it's not ideal. It's pretty tight where it is down there.
Yeah, and depending upon the avenue the city takes, if we were to move forward with this, there's multiple procurement solicitations and processes that are involved with this, whether it's purchase of land, if we have to purchase land and move the facility, look at a feasibility study, hire an OPM, hire an architect, eventually hire the contractor, then all the associated filed subtrades that go along with that too. So it's a complicated process, but one
One we can't wait to get into.
Yeah.
Having solved all other problems.
Yes.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Any other questions, members of the committee? Seeing none, if would like to make a motion? Councilor Peterson?
I move that we accept this budget of $162,733.
Councilor Peterson moves to approve the purchasing personnel and expenses budget of $162,733, seconded by Councilor Flynn. Logging these in case Eileen's missing them at home. So no further discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? So moved. And then
Thank you, Doc.
we're not quite done. All we got to do is second page.
Fixed costs.
So fixed costs, we already covered that. So if somebody wants to make a motion on the purchasing fixed costs?
I just had a question through the chair.
Yeah, sure.
Could you explain a little on the wireless, the telephone, what that entails, the 30,000?
Yeah, so that's the city cell phone budget. So this is the cost for all the cell phones that we have for all the various city departments that we have, with Verizon. And those rates that we get are all through a state contract, so they're procured through the state. The vast majority of cities and towns use a state contract when purchasing cell phone service with Verizon. And we probably have about, I'd say anywhere from like 60 to 70 cell phone users in the city. And I'll take that back, that I pay for it.
Public safety has their own in schools.
Yeah, public safety and the schools do their own thing.
Councilor Peterson?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Can you explain, because we just heard from IT and they talked about phones as well. I mean, they were landlines, but can you explain sort of the reasoning behind having those split between the two departments? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I don't know. Since I've been here, this is how it's always been, to be honest with you. The purchasing department for quite some time now has overseen the city cell phone budget, and I think that part of that is just a sort of more or less a centralization, consolidation of the cell phones rather than having all the departments pay their own cell phone bill and work out their own contracts. This is a good way to centralize it. In terms of the split with the landlines, I don't know, to be honest with you.
I think my recollection going back is that every department was, when cell phones first came out, right, every department was buying their own cell phone package, and we said, this is crazy. Somebody had, we had Nextels, we had a lot of different models and different packages and different prices. When we decided we were going to centralize purchasing a number of items, by the way, this was at the top of the list, and then the state bid came out, the state bid package was put together, and it was centralized under purchasing as opposed to trying to track down every contract that everybody had in various departments. And it definitely has worked out better in terms of pricing.
Public safety has their own
You save money
contracts.
by doing it that way, so that you have one centralized contract and it ends up costing you less money. And it puts more controls in place in terms of having it out in each of the departments, and then sometimes people ending up with one or two, more than one, that they don't really need. So it's really about having sort of an oversight and being able to ask questions. Every so often you go back and you look at who has them, what the cost is, and can we save things. And it's just easier to have it more centralized than have it, and it's cost effective that way.
Having one person overlook at it, and we do make an effort every 5-6 months or so to meet with our rep to make sure we're taking advantage of the best plans that are out there for all our phones.
And a lot of other communities do it this way as well.
I have a sort of general follow-up question to that about the process, being new to it, because I'm not proposing that we move it to a different department, but how does that kind of thing happen if you are, like, say, the cell phones wanted to go to IT or something like that? Who decides to move things, and
We reorged this when I came in, I think, because we saw that they were just in every single budget, it centralized the contracts. Same thing with photocopiers. Every department had their own deal with, I forget whoever the copier was at the time, whoever the contract was. They weren't, somebody was getting a great rate, somebody wasn't getting a great rate. That's really reflective of the type of services, how many copies you're making, are they color copies? I mean, as that technology's improved, we want to make sure we're sort of mindful of how many we have, where can we share. Everybody doesn't need a printer on their desk or right outside their office, especially now where we're encouraging people not to print things if they don't need to, and doing a lot more links and sharing of documents that way. So centralizing it allows us to exercise a little bit more control as opposed to individual budgets.
And I guess my question, just out of curiosity, is so would it be you maybe that would decide, like, if you wanted to move something, like a line item from one department to another?
Generally, it'll be, certainly, I would have to be okay with that.
Yes.
But usually it bubbles up from finance as we're looking at, okay, how do we get a little bit more control? I think these, came into play given the deficit we walked into and trying to be more mindful, going back 12 years ago now, of, all right, let's get a better hand on where these expenditures are going. Are we spending, somebody leaves who has a cell phone, do we turn them off right away? Like when it's multiple departments, it's a little bit harder to track. Not that I don't think we're really generous with cell phones. It's really tied to, do you need it for your job? Are you someone that we need to get a hold of on a more regular basis, that sort of thing.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Any further questions? Seeing none, if somebody wants to make a motion on this? Councilor Flynn?
Motion to approve purchase and fixed cost, $66,412.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, moves to approve. Motion to accept the budget purchasing fixed cost of $66,412 made by Councilor Flynn, seconded by Councilor Fury. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved.
Great.
Well, good hands. Thanks,
All
man.
right, thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, I know the mayor has some time constraints coming up, so what do you guys want to tackle next?
No, let's keep going. I'll make it work till 7:30, so.
Right,
Yep.
Treasurer?
All right.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Treasurer.
And what's this?
Treasurer. That's section 9.
Okay.
So she has a lot of sections in her budget. Different sections.
Kathleen spends a lot of money.
Yeah, she does.
But virtually all
Of
of it's
which we don't really
statutory.
have much
Yeah,
control
we have
over.
no choice.
The department is a staff of 4, and we seamlessly settled into that new great space across the way. It really feels good. My staff feels, like they've been there for some time. So it was very seamless, and it's really an efficient way of us managing our days. So thank you. As Laurie said, my budget is cumbersome of various assessments and debt service through water and sewer and general funds. So if you have any questions as we begin.
Councilor Peterson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I noticed a big jump in the credit card EFT fees this year. Can you go into that a little bit?
That is comprised of, we have 9 various on-site processing systems. The golf course, Winter Island, the parking garage, the parking kiosks, the parking meters. And with those new kiosks at the garage, I think there were 4 added kiosks there, so that usage has increased. And also the fees, sometimes with those fees being 75 cents, we incur this, so in raising those rates, it will kind of offset some of our fees, because for a 75-cent fee, sometimes it costs money.
Okay, and I'm not sure if this is how this works actually at the municipal level. Coming personally from the corporate side, I know, and having been a small business owner, I know, it's always sort of renegotiating fees every year with credit cards, or trying to credit card processing. Is that something that the city
And which we have
has the
done.
opportunity to do?
Originally, the city was with WorldPay, and we did have a review, and we are now presently with First Data. It has been spoken, Laurie did bring that up, to review that with purchasing, and I don't recall the other company that, I think was, again, WorldPay, because they merged with another company. So that to be reviewed. But prior to the budget prep, I did speak with First Data, our representative there, and he did say that we were receiving the best rate that they could give us. But the issue comes with the interchange rate, and that of which we have no control over. Those are regulated rates, and there's thousands of credit cards out there that we just don't have control over those.
But that is an area that we would look at on a regular basis.
That's great, thank you.
Councilor Flynn?
Through the chair, on credit cards, when people use those to pay the taxes and stuff online.
We don't accept, I'm sorry, online?
Right, online where there's a fee to use the credit cards.
Yep.
Does that amount that we charge absorb the cost to the city? And is there a profit from the amount we charge?
No, the taxpayer incurs the fee. The city doesn't incur. We don't
We don't
incur
see
the
any
fee for
increase
real
from-
estate and personal property, no.
Okay.
We're able to pass the fee on, but we're not able to absorb the fee on something like a real estate tax, because you would then be diminishing the revenues that come into us.
Okay.
So, but we certainly don't want to charge people
Okay.
more. It's just a convenience fee being passed on to them.
And if you have a convenience fee or the merchant fee, it has to be disclosed within the transactions. So at this time, our kiosks are programmed that they don't isolate out those fees. So therefore, you can't pass it on.
Okay.
I'll also say we have a lot more people using credit cards or debit cards now that we have the kiosks and all the parking systems that take credit cards. The passport system relies on a credit card payment. So the volume of people, who has cash anymore, right? The volume of people using credit cards and debit cards is definitely, we've seen that increase through the years as well.
And for example, for FY17, the credit card fees were like, $90,000, and that generated about $1.2 million in sales. So with that, we haven't reviewed it for FY18 of that, but the golf course is a major user of fees, and they're seasonal.
And it sounds like our policy is generally to pass it along whenever we can.
Whenever we
Yes.
can, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
The hope would be at some point we'd be able to make everybody be able to pass on whatever that fee is, but you can't always do it with the current technologies.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Councilor Ferry?
No, well, it's too early to ask there. The Essex Tech Vocational Assessment,
We're not on that one yet.
I apologize.
We'll get through this department, then we'll get those. So, any other questions on this portion of it, the personnel and expenses? Seeing none, so make a question. Councilor Peterson?
I move that we approve the treasurer personnel and expenses budget of $382,782.
Counselor Peterson moves to accept the treasurer personnel and expenses budget of $382,782, seconded by Counselor Fury. Seeing no further discussion on this one, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved. All right, and then the next one. Now we get into all the fun stuff, the debt service, long-term and short-term, and debt service expenses and everything else. So, especially because we have a group of, a couple new people here, if you can explain what we're going through here and the long-term debt service expenses. 879 and 880 for you guys.
Yeah, I
You
will.
probably know, okay. Presently, the city is looking to have debt of $6,871,087. That is inclusive of capital improvement projects through FY18. So we're bringing on those, a good bulk of those projects for FY19.
So there are projects that have already been authorized by the city council in the past, and now as those jobs are progressing, the debt starts to come on over a period of time. And they vary depending on the project.
Yeah, well, I know a couple of these are starting to wind down. I think a couple of these debt service expenses are starting to wind down in the next couple of years. If you could give us a bit of an outlook on that.
There's roughly about $2 million coming off for FY20. And one is being, the ferry project is one, one of the school projects. But it's roughly about $2 million to come off. Again, that would be FY20.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a squeeze the next couple of years as
Yeah.
we have debt that's still on that won't be rolling off, and there's obviously projects and initiatives we want to do. You'll see that reflected though in the CIP, that we're not as aggressive, and we're going to look to do as much pay-as-you-go as we can. So even though in the CIP you might see requests for bonding authorization, as we think about when free cash gets certified, we may be able to pump more into CIP, and we'll come back to you and say, look, rather than bond for this, we want to do it what we would call pay-as-you-go and not necessarily add to some additional debt service.
And the city's presently taking a $15 million bond at the end of June, of which is budgeted in FY19. The principal and interest payments are budgeted.
Most of which is water and sewer. A big chunk of it is the water and sewer, which is the larger Canal Street project. So that's really the largest piece of debt that's happening right now from things that have been authorized.
And with the Modernization Act in the past, so once the bond is issued at the end of June, there could be a premium. And bond counsel and the financial advisors couldn't tell us exactly what that premium is, but with the Modernization Act, that premium can be used to offset future debt. So we're hoping that we should know by the end of June to have a decent premium that could then offset future.
Or it can reduce the amount of money that you're paying out in debt through some projects. So you may choose to pay some projects off so you're not having to bond for them. So you look at what makes the most sense at a given point in time, and you make a decision based on that.
Any questions, members of the committee? Seeing none, if anybody has questions, take a motion. This is on the debt service expenses on 880.
Motion approved.
Counselor Fury moves to accept the debt service expenses of $6,871,087. just about the biggest individual number we see. So Counselor Fury moves to approval, seconded by Counselor Peterson. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, so moved. And now our next big statutory number. On 882, short-term debt interest expenses.
Among this budget, there's the FY18 leases that are for various vehicles. So that will be for FY19 is the first year that those lease payments, one of 3, are coming on.
And you can see the detail on the next page.
Got the FY18 leases. Still going on the LED conversion and an increase in bands. So I've been here before. If you want to explain what bands are to these, to the 2 new counselors, that would be.
A band is a bond anticipation note, and usually the city goes out to bond only once a year and to ban once a year. And usually the banning happens in November, December, because then when the city knows what they're looking to have short-term borrowing for, and that's anticipation of the FY19 CIP and where projects are at, or where projects of FY18, where they are coming to completion and we haven't bonded for them, we're able then to band for them, anticipating that we would bond for them in a future year. So the ban is short-term borrowing. It's a 1 year, up to 1 year borrowing.
So you're borrowing money, and then when you're ready to do a bond, if those projects are near completion, then you do a bond on that amount. So currently, we're about to do a bond, and at that time, we'll pay off one of the bands, which currently we have, it's what is it, $1.6 million. So we're going to pay off that amount with the bond, because now those projects are complete and we can go and borrow the money. And that's
Kind of
generally how that
permanently
works.
finance them.
Right. Versus short term.
Counselor Peterson.
Thank you. So do all vehicles come through you that are purchased or leased, or?
Traditionally, the city does lease the vehicles. I think in FY7 or FY17, they were bonded for. But traditionally, the city leases them. And that, again, is through the CIP.
Okay. But they don't come through the departments, really?
No.
Okay.
No. There's some that may, they're depending on the source, the financing source. For example, a fire truck, or could go directly, or, for example, the dump truck at the golf course. Because of the nature of the truck and the revolving fund, it goes through the department.
Okay.
But yet the leases go through the purchasing department and finance.
Okay.
We were recently looking at that, and it's something that we probably, moving into the future, will move so that the leases would remain in one department, so that you can have a list of it instead of having it into individual departments. I think it's a better way to reflect that. But we didn't want to make any changes without looking at everything. I haven't been here long enough to make all of those changes happen. So.
Sure, yeah, but it seems like that might be the strategy where it's
Eventually,
ultimately going,
yeah, so it'll all be in one place.
Okay,
Yeah.
great, thank you.
That would be the goal.
Yeah. I was like, good organization.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing none? Counselor Flynn?
Make a motion to approve the short-term debt for $856,699.
Counselor Flynn moves to accept the short-term debt interest expense in the amount of $856,699, seconded by Counselor Peterson. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, so moved. And now's the one that the at-large counselor wanted to mention.
We've been very lucky over the years to have Tom St. Pierre service for the city of Salem to be our representative on the board. Very, very lucky. Now we have Mr. Cohn, who brings his personal experience, and very, very lucky. We have 183 very fortunate students to attend North Shore Regional Vocational School, and we're very lucky there to send students there with top-notch education. There's a minus 2.7 reduction in total assessments there. Is that because our enrollments are down, or can we explain why that's down a little bit? No, not bad to have it down.
Well, we get an assessment from them every year that reflects both student population and their overall budget. So, and then we obviously pay our percentage share. So it may not mean that students are down, it just may be that their budget didn't have as much of an increase this year. It may be that the debt service rolled off a little bit differently when they actually were putting everything out to debt. It's a very slight decrease to see a 3%. Did their actual budget last year, did the I know there were some adjustments after we had the budget approved 2.4, so it may have been slightly less than that what we actually got last year for an assessment, Councilor Fury. So there's no reflection on anything we've done. We get the assessment from them, just based on the students that they've accepted, number of enrolled students, and our percentage share of debt. So,
And once they get their final Chapter 70 monies, that may not happen until they then adjust the participating communities assessment. If their assessment of Chapter 70 goes up or down, they have to pass that on to the participating communities.
Have we been affected by the sports complex, which is in private hands to some extent, I think? Have we been affected by that cost situation, legal fees and whatever it may be, to see where that's going?
No.
No.
no, I mean, I guess I would argue that had they negotiated a better deal, we might be paying less than we are. The school is getting their $100,000 a year
They do get
payment,
their payment.
but could they have gotten more money for sale of that land or concocted a better deal? We'll never know, I guess.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Councilor Peterson, you have a question?
Thank you. I just was going to clarify and jump off of Councilor Fury's question. I thought maybe at the budget retreat, I can't remember where it was, that it had come up that just because of the general popularity in the region of the school, that it's starting to be maybe our percentage of students is smaller, maybe as it's becoming more popular with others.
I think our numbers were slightly down, but slightly, maybe just a couple of kids. It wasn't a lot.
Okay. It sounded like to them accepting more, like just the popularity of it in all the communities was stronger, sounded like.
I think there's much more kids who are
there's
interested.
more.
It's a new school. They have some interesting programs, particularly if you're focused on what you want to do. So we haven't had major impacts in terms of numbers going up significantly or down significantly for the last couple of years.
Our numbers have gone up, yes.
Okay.
Our numbers. And they've recently had, for example, 1,300 applicants to accept for 340 seats.
Wow.
And so the school was built to accommodate more students. So there has been an increase in the number of every communities going, but the percentage, we're still around the same percentage of students that we've always had. So that's what I mean about
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Councilor Flynn?
On the advice of the chair, should I recuse myself? I have a student that goes there on this vote. Would that matter?
No.
You can just disclose. I have a student
Disclosure's
that
fine.
goes there.
Okay.
You have, well, now you have one student. You had two
students.
students until last week, so.
Yeah. Unfortunately, no matter whether we had students or not, isn't going to change this.
And also, I'll say, you don't have an interest in it, so disclosure's good, but you don't have an interest in it. There's no financial interest on your part, so.
Okay.
There's no issue there. So, any further discussion? Seeing none, so I'm going to make the motion. Councilor Peterson.
I move that we accept the school assessments budget for Essex Tech for $2,349,107.
Second.
Councilor Peterson moves to accept the Essex Tech vocational assessment under school assessments of $2,349,107, seconded by Councilor Fury. Being no further discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Now on to all the assessments. Well, most of the assessments.
These numbers come straight from the state
Cherry sheet.
cherry sheet vote by the House and Senate.
And again, the numbers aren't final as of now, so these could change slightly, which is generally what happens. But this right now is all that we can tell you. That's what they're telling us they're going to charge us, but we don't know what those final numbers are going to be. They'll be close, hopefully, but it's really hard to figure out whether it will go up or down from this number here.
But I did verify, an estimate did come out today, and nothing had changed.
Right.
Senate stuff, yeah.
Councilor Flynn?
I'd like to disclose again, I have a student in the charter schools.
As do I.
Just note me.
Yep. Thank you.
Well,
Any question from members of the committee?
I guess
Yeah.
just a similar question to the last one. It looks like the number for the charter schools is pretty flat. Do we know how our enrollments have gone for this year, or our?
I don't know.
These
those
are based as of
details.
October of last year, so
Okay.
that's the cutoff period, October 10th, I think it is, of the prior fiscal year is what sets the number for this fiscal year.
Okay,
We'll go through the same process again this year and for setting next year's number.
okay, but we don't know if the interest has gone up or down in.
I think the number's fairly consistent. I mean, we
Okay.
saw an increase 3 years ago because charter school enrollment increased, and the bulk of the kids in this case come from Salem. So we saw that number jump up. That's that $333,000 a year we've lost the last 3 years. Meaning less in state aid, and that is tied to the fact that the state's not fully funding charter school reimbursement on the revenue side of the house. So the assessment has grown, but as you can tell, from FY17 to FY18,
Right, it's pretty close.
yeah. No, it was $6.4 million in FY17, $7.3 million in FY18. That's reflecting there was 150 student enrollment that was phased in over 3 years, 50 new students a year there. But the charter school reimbursement dollars that we're entitled to under the state law has not increased. So that's had an impact on our bottom line. This comes right off the cherry sheet. We have no choice on these assessments.
Yeah.
You vote on this as a pure formality to show that these numbers are coming off. We don't incorporate them into the budget, but these are all, we never even see this money. It just.
Is that the state reimbursement, is that likely to change, or?
There's a number of communities advocating for it, but because the charter schools, the number of communities that are impacted by charter school, the reimbursement is a small handful, 2-3 dozen, I think there's 34 communities, something like that. It doesn't necessarily seem to get to the top of the list. We've certainly made both Representative Tucker and Senator Lovely aware that the funding formula has a direct impact on us in a negative way, and means that we're not getting new local aid. We are really relying on our local revenues to help support, the cost of governing here. And it's very much a hardship. If they could fully fund that number, we'd have closer to $1 million in additional local aid revenues than what we have right now. For Boston, it's $10 million. So it's not an insignificant sum, and any advocacy the council would like to make on our behalf to help, I think they're aware of the issue, and it's just trying to get enough bandwidth between communities to make a change.
Thank you.
Councilor Fury?
I asked a similar question last year about if a student drops out, either transfers, moves, something happens, situation, out of North Shore Regional Vocational School, another student can't bump in during the year. In a charter school situation, if the student either drops out, flunks, moves, there's a long waiting list too to get into North Shore Regional or into the charter schools. Does one of our students bump in? Can they bump in?
The charter schools are allowed to make their own rules regarding that, and I believe Salem Academy will allow students to transfer in or hit their waiting list before 9th grade. After 9th grade, they do not allow transfers. So the freshmen that start out, the class for freshmen, by the time they get to seniors, it's a little bit smaller. They actually have a pretty good retention rate But there are some students who decide this isn't for me and I want to leave. They've made a policy of not necessarily bringing kids in, I think, past their freshman year because they've got a system that they want to keep consistent. The vocational school will allow students to transfer in up until their sophomore year, but really after that, you're in your shop, and it'd be a hardship to transfer a kid in from outside into a vocational program that they haven't really had. And so in your sophomore year, you can transfer in. After that, no more. So.
Thank you very much.
I had a question.
Okay.
I'm gonna wait till he comes back.
No, keep going.
Now, my question on the school choice, how that went up substantially, is that a per student fee?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And how much is it per student?
It depends on the district. So this has to do with students who choice out.
Mm-hmm.
So if they choiced out to Beverly or Hamilton or Wenham, and it's a formula, it's different than the charter school formula.
Yeah.
I can get you the details on what it is per student.
Okay.
Yeah, we pay tuition to the receiving district.
Correct.
Did that cost just go up because of the fees set, or is it because so many more students opted out?
It could be a
Combination.
Is it a combination?
right?
And where they go.
That's correct.
Right, and where they go has.
It's a different number in
Right.
different
The
places.
per capita per student.
In Gloucester, that number is $1 million. It's primarily Rockport. There's a huge migration from students in Gloucester who are going to Rockport, and it's almost $1 million in school choice. And Rockport, of course, is seeing declining, population with not as much of a school. So they're actually marketing, and so it can be really, it's a part of the state law designed to make sure that students have choice, maximum choice, but it can really do a disservice to a community if you're trying to fully fund education. Our cost of heating doesn't go down. Generally you're talking about a few kids here and a few kids there. It's not as though you've got a whole class that's leaving so that maybe you can reduce your costs commensurate with what you're seeing. So it's a bit of a hardship, and I think all the more reason for us to continue to focus on striving to have really high quality schools so that people don't choice out for any reason.
Councilor Peterson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To that same question, can you just real quickly give us a sense of what communities students are opting out to go
Beverly, Hamilton, Wenham. There's a few, I think, that go to Rockport in smaller number. Think along the train line. The district has to also be a receiving district for students. So Hamilton and Wenham said they would accept a certain number of students, and once you make that decision, you have to allow the students to matriculate through.
And do we get students as
So
well?
we just last year for the first time said we would accept students only in the high school grades at Salem High because we had capacity there. We have stayed away from trying to make this a financial decision. If accepting additional students can improve our programs and services, or allow us to offer additional programs or services, then we were certainly willing to do it. So Alternative High School allows for school choice. There are specific programs they have there that will benefit students and families and will help us keep those programs really, really buoyed by having those additional resources and, frankly, the students that come with it. High school has capacity as well, so we want to maintain, strong disciplines across a number of factors. So we added students, but there are some districts that just look at the dollar sign and think, let's add that. We really refrain from doing that and try to be thoughtful around, is this going to be beneficial for our community? Because once you start, you're committed for a number of years to maintain that student here.
Have we had any families take us up on that?
Yeah, we've got a half a dozen or so. I mean, we set the number at like 12. I don't think we wanted to overwhelm ourselves. And we are not trying to cherry pick or market, to other communities. To be honest with you, I think we see it as a specialized program, or for students who live in one community and move, right? But they want to stay where they are, that's frankly been, I think, the bulk of the asks so far in a place, semi-urban community like ours, where you do have, students moving right next door, and then having to pick up and, start your high school year someplace else. It's been a real advantage that if you end up moving, several times, depending on your family circumstances, you can still stay in one school.
Does that tend to be, in general, the way the school choice program works most of the time? Or is it families that are truly just casting a wide net and choosing a community that
Yeah, it
makes
depends.
more
I mean, I
sense
think
for
a
them?
place like Hamilton is recruiting, I think they are
Okay.
looking to hit some of the cities where people may want a different experience. So,
Okay, thank you.
yeah.
Any further questions? Seeing none, someone make the motion. Councilor Peterson?
I move that we accept this state assessment expenses budget of $8,993,331.
Second.
Councilor Peterson moves to accept the budget, the state assessments expenses budget of $8,993,331, seconded by Councilor Fury. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved. And then pension assessment, contributory retirement personnel, 888.
Again, this number is driven by the actuarial studies done on behalf of the retirement board.
Presumably, we're still catching up on the backlog there. So I remember that we still have a funding assessment to complete over time.
It's now, 2032.
Any questions, members of the committee? Councilor Peterson?
Thank you, how many individuals does this represent, this number?
There's, your retirees, so about 1,100?
Okay, thank you.
With some anticipation of future retirees. Catching up on we have a long-term retirement deficit that has to be made up.
And we're still catching up a little bit for 2009 with the investment performance.
We had a good year last year, so hopefully the new valuations will come in better, but it's all driven by the economy. And you hope that the investments do better than what they have done in those off markets.
Because the benchmark is 7%. And
Right.
Are our investments more on the conservative end, or,
they're managed by the state,
okay, oh,
by
okay.
the
They're part of
PRIT.
Prem.
Yes. And it is a diverse, there's a monthly annual reports on them,
Okay, thank you.
but that is managed what's called the PRIT.
So we monitor and post those entries out on a monthly basis in the retirement system, and we watch those figures all the time. We meet with Prem once a year to go over what the, what the past year has done, and then they answer any questions that we may have.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing none? If a member wants to make a motion on it, Councilor Flynn?
I'll make a motion to accept retirement funds of $11,490,119 for personnel.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay. Councilor moves approval, seconded by approval of the pension assessment contributory retirement personnel, the amount of $11,409,119. By Councilor Fury. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Now we're getting close to the end here. Non-contributory retirement personnel. This is a number that shrinks pretty much every year. If you'd like to explain why quickly for our new councilors. Councilor Fury and I are aware of this one.
These are, presently the city, going forward in FY19, have two retirees. One is a surviving spouse that were not previously on the city's retirement. So the city pays their retirement directly. And we have two, one weekly and one monthly.
So it's a non-contributory plan, whereas everybody, since these people existed, or since that period of time, now we all contribute to our retirement, whereas back then, these people generally are very old, are closer to, in the 80s, probably around this time. And so they are considered non-contribute because they started employment at a time when they didn't have to contribute. And you have to keep track of it separate.
And they probably retired somewhere in the 50s.
We still have a couple of them around.
Yeah, good
It's kind of
genes.
neat, yeah.
Let's say,
It's a number that I've seen drop a little bit almost every year as I've gone through.
this
So we've
year
lost
went
one or
down
two a year.
by one person.
Councilor Peterson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So is this number not indexed, what we're paying out? Because it's for a whole year, that seems low.
Well, it's a very low
Yeah, it's very
contribution
low.
they're getting.
Yeah.
Because there are two people in this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very small amount.
Live on. So it didn't, it was not indexed,
No.
it just was what they got when they retired.
Right, and the city does give a 3% COLA increase to them, but
Yeah,
On the
as you know, on
First
the
12,000.
on the first 12, yeah.
yeah. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on this one? Seeing none? Councilor Flynn?
Motion to accept the retirement personnel non-contribute of $12,125.
Second.
Okay. Councilor Flynn moves to accept the non-contributory retirement personnel budget, $12,125. Seconded by Councilor Fury. All those in favor? Opposed? So moved. On to our Medicare personnel.
This is the city's 1.45% share of salaries of taxable Medicare wages that the city pays to the Social Security Administration.
Any questions on this one? It's a statutory number. All right, seeing no questions?
Motion to approve.
Councilor Fury moves to approval. Move through, seconded by Councilor Peterson. No further discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? So moved. And municipal insurance expenses.
This number is comprised of property and casualty insurance and professional liability insurance for the city side.
Any questions? Councilor Peterson.
Thank you. Property and casualty on our city building.
On buildings, on vehicles.
Any further questions? Councilor Flynn? Make a motion to accept municipal insurance expense, $338,556.
Thank you.
Second.
Councilor Flynn moves approval of municipal insurance expenses of $338,556. Seconded by Councilor Fury. All those in favor? Opposed? So moved. And that completes that section.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. So, Mayor, if you want to, anything you want to roll in next while you're still here? or-
No, we have to go to, excuse me, the sewer enterprise.
Oh, we have to go to that separately in this one?
Water enterprise.
Oh,
for
sorry
debt
about
service.
that.
That's okay. Section 8 is what I have here,
Yeah, hang on
336.
1 second, it's,
No, it's waiting.
no, 27, 27. Actually, budget transfers out, so 26, 27, 28. I forgot that these were under you. Haven't chaired this in a couple of years. So I'll do budget transfer out, which is section 26.
I don't know if you want to do these when the engineer is here. I mean, you can do them any way you want. They're debt service related to ongoing water and sewer.
Yeah, I mean, I would rather talk about those numbers when we could do the budget transfers out of general fund, but I'd rather talk, I think we'd
This
probably
might
be better
make
off
sense.
talking when Dave is here from the water and sewer enterprise, if that's okay with the committee.
I know we've done it both ways. Sometimes we've done it with Kathleen, sometimes.
There's a lot of
the
stuff this year, so
engineer.
it's
There
probably
is.
good to do it that way.
Yeah, we go through the water and sewer rate restructuring as well. Right.
So for budget transfers out of general fund, which is 8321, the Bentley Charter, retirement stabilization,
Yeah, those are actually schools. I don't know if technically that's part of.
Yeah, that's not part of treasury.
That's just the annual budgets out that are required
yep, housekeeping.
under the law, so if you want to, however you want to do those, it's fine with us, Counselor.
We'll do these here with,
Okay.
I think. Say, any questions on these matters? In these cases, they're ahead of it on the, see, none, this is also how we fund the Bentley Charter from the city side. So,
I have a question.
yep, Council Peterson.
Thank you. About the Salem 2026 fund, I've heard you talk about this before. Is this, I mean, and I love the idea of, putting a little bit every year in toward something in the future. But I'm just wondering if this is anywhere near enough to cover, if it's going to be enough to
No,
cover.
but I
It
think-
seems like a small drop in the bucket to me, just as a guess.
Yeah, so we decided we'd start putting around $10,000 a year with the hope that we'd have enough funding in place to support some of those uses. We know that the state is looking at what they're calling their 2020 to 2030 fund, because there are a number, there's like a dozen communities between 2020 and 2030 that are all experiencing their 400, so they're calling it a 400th fund for that decade of communities. So this is something that can certainly partner with that. I don't think these are the only resources we'll need, but until we have a real 400th plan in terms of coming to counselors to say, let's do the backwards planning between 2026 and now. We did want to start a stabilization fund, which we started several years ago. Setting up this $10,000.
And will we expect that plan this year?
That's our goal. Yeah. Now that we finished up the Imagine Salem, we've got a progress report. The goal is to convert some of the findings that we heard from, the numerous individuals involved in giving feedback with a real action plan and a broader spectrum of people attached to it as well. On those areas. Yeah. So at some point we'll need more than this, but
Yeah.
there's
It's always good to plan to start. Get
Yeah.
started.
yeah, 8 years and counting. It's it's coming. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions on this, Councilor Peterson?
Another one.
Go ahead.
The transfer to charter school fund line has nothing on it and hasn't had anything on it. What is and then there's the transfer to Bentley Charter. Is that the same thing?
The Bentley School is an in-district charter school.
Yep.
And required under state law for their budget to be funded directly to them. They have authority with their board of trustees over the funding for that. And it's a formula that's been worked out with the school committee through, based on a per student capital, per capita per student rate. I don't know why transfers to the charter school are on there. I don't know, recall us funding that. This is like a state accounting list, so it may not be.
Maybe it's just something we're not using.
Yeah.
I believe my first year, there was something in there as part of the transfer formula when we There might have been something my first year or so. We've had some of these categories over time that have, been eliminated, but they stay in the system for some years before people decide to cut the line items out of them. This could be one of those, not having many, many years back to look.
This is really more a function of how the state requires us to account for these items than our own budget process.
Thank you.
Yeah, the biggest change here is the additional money into retirement stabilization that goes through this. Any further questions on this one? Seeing none,
Motion to approve.
okay. And have a second? Second by Councilor Flynn. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved.
Okay, so just want to make sure, so the items that are part of the sewer enterprise.
Water and sewer
that's considered
enterprise.
treasure, we're going to wait for that budget.
Yeah, and we will
Okay.
cover that with public services and
Okay, just wanna make
engineering.
sure. Okay,
'Cause that's where, well, there's a lot of capital stuff there as
no,
well,
I
so
understand.
I think that's best to do it all together. All right,
Okay.
now with that taken care of, now where do we want to go?
Thank you. Whatever you want to do, I can go next, or you can take these guys.
We'll do you last, we'll take care of some of the
Okay.
department
Yep,
heads.
sure.
Who do you want to bring in next?
Why don't we just keep going alphabetical order? So I don't know if that's building or electrical or building. Okay.
The
on over.
building.
Tom St. Pierre, come on down.
What number you got?
I do, but I've been texting telling them.
Section
I'm not
15.
pleased.
15.
That's one of those city-owned cell phones.
Yeah, right.
The building inspector, I know, was one of the last flip phone users in the city.
Last what?
One of the last flip phone users in the city.
Hey, one of those.
The last flip phone in the city is a privately owned one, and that would be the good-at-large counselors. All right, so. So, Tom, take it away.
I think most of you guys are aware of what we do in the building department, but there are some different angles that we do. The main job is to enforce building codes, plumbing codes, gas codes. We also I do zoning enforcement. We do complaints. No, I'm leaving some stuff out. Weights and measures is out of our office. John does a good job part-time in weights and measures, which for you folks that don't know are with scales, gas pumps, oil trucks, things like that get checked every year. That's about it. Probably, Michael in my office assists in the city on quite a few, I don't know if you call them capital projects, but major projects throughout the city. Sort of as a project manager, lead person, which is really, I think, has helped out in several of the projects, including the recent move to the annex.
Absolutely.
Councilor Peterson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just noticed some fluctuation in the contracted services line.
Yes, yeah.
On building gas.
Yep, that's easy to explain. We
Okay.
had, Dennis Ross has retired as of the first of the year, but prior to that, he had been sick, and it had been a lot of fill-in time.
Oh, okay.
And we've recently hired a full-time plumbing and gas inspector. We replaced him, Mike Guida.
Okay.
And the number you see there now just reflects his vacation time, basically, or time that we anticipate that he'll be out, because we do have to have a plumbing and gas inspector sitting there while he's out.
Okay,
That's why that number was able to reduce.
thank you.
Yeah, Council Fury.
Mr. Sevier, is the person in charge of maintaining this building, keeping this building going, he does a marvelous job. Is he also doing the new annex?
Yes, I should mention, he's also in our department, and he does both buildings, and the supplies for the buildings come out of this budget also, yes, Jonathan.
So is there enough time for him to do this building and that building?
It keeps him busy.
It keeps him
Yes,
busy.
yes.
Very lucky to have him.
Yeah, he's done a good job. He did a particularly good job during the move. That was pretty stressful on everyone, and there were a lot of, messes and things over there, and he put in a lot of extra time and effort and made sure the buildings were secure. That was something people don't think about. The movers want to be there early in the morning. They want to be there later after we go. And Jonathan did a great job keeping all that straight.
But maybe,
Certainly.
it's a 20-year lease for the new annex, $477,000 per year for 20 years. Is there any option, in, say, 5, 10, 15 years to buy?
No, not that I'm aware of.
So we have to pay the 20 years, there's no option to buy.
I'm not aware. I've seen the lease. I didn't see the
I
option
think there's
to buy
a
it.
right of first refusal, like
Yeah.
if they decide to sell, but we don't, it's not a lease to own, if that's
Right.
what you mean, no.
Just curious. Thank you.
Yep.
Any further questions? Councilor Peterson?
I move that we accept the inspectional services personnel and expenses budget of $594,572.
Councilor Peterson moves to accept the public property inspections personnel and building gas plumbing inspection expenses of $594,572. Seconded by Councilor Fury.
Just a quick add to that too, not to prolong this, but the mayor has helped us get fully staffed this year. This will be the first time in 2 or 3 years that we've actually have a full complement between either retirements or people leaving or whatever. It just seemed to, we always seem to be a little bit behind on personnel, and this year we're actually fully staffed.
Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, so moved. On to Board of Appeals. Big increase in the advertising budget, mainly probably because of all the marijuana, but we have to advertise all those.
The advertising budget number there is just in case there's a clerical mistake and we have to eat the advertising.
Pretty expensive, we'll just crank up on that.
Yeah, it does happen from time to time. You have to have a little contingency money in case we mess up.
Councilor Peterson.
Thank you. So we spoke with the city clerk the other day, and through this process, and she was talking about her advertising costs, which I at the time had assumed included these as well. Can you clarify what specifically is advertised here versus?
Actually, I didn't notice, but it's been reduced by the mayor. That could be an issue because advertising for the Salem News is what it's about, and the ads are expensive. I mean, they're $200-300 per whack. So,
right.
And normally, like I said, the petitioner pays all of that. It's just for that occasional time if something we make a clerical mistake or something, we have to advertise it to make up for it.
Maybe it's a question for the mayor or for the how does that breakdown happen in terms of who's advertising what between the city clerk or?
Well, these would be items specific to.
Yeah, zoning board of appeals.
Zoning,
The city clerk
yeah.
has to advertise things for ordinance changes.
Okay.
Ordinance, yeah.
So
things like that.
specifically, things that come in and out of this room is what she would be advertising, and this would be specifically around the zoning.
Yeah, I mean, we all have state regulations and rules that we have to go by, and it's based on that.
And just out of curiosity, so the board absorbs the advertising costs when a business comes in?
No,
Or the business?
no, the petitioner,
Oh, yeah,
petitioner
that's
pays for
right.
the advertising.
Oh, these are,
Yeah.
that line item is purely for mistakes, or if there was something that we were advertising, but it's very infrequent that we'd be going before the Board of Appeals as the
Right.
city is exempt from zoning.
Okay, yeah.
Just pay for the ad, yeah. Yeah, I don't think we would be before the zoning board, but it's
Yeah.
really for a clerical mistake. It happens occasionally,
Okay.
and we strive not to, obviously. But
A clerical mistake, like on something that a petitioner had already paid to advertise?
right, it's a legal ad, excuse me, a legal ad, and if by some chance the message to the Salem News or the correspondence to the Salem News, the ad gets put in with a wrong phrase in there or a wrong name, wrong date. Any of those things are fatal as far as advertising, and we have to re-advertise it. Dates are particularly,
We gave somebody the wrong deadline.
Yeah.
They published the ad, but didn't meet the public requirement for notification,
2 weeks,
then
yeah.
we've got to redo the ad for them if we gave them misinformation. I mean, we do try to prevent that from happening, but every once in a while, there is a human error that occurs.
right, we haven't had many, but you try to plan for that contingency.
Sure. Okay, thank you. That's good.
Otherwise, we have to go through a budget transfer process, and it's a lengthy process to pay a small bill.
Any further discussion? None, someone makes a motion? Counselor Flynn?
Motion to accept $900 for the Board of Appeals expenses.
Second.
Counselor Flynn moves approval, seconded by Counselor Fury. On Board of Appeals expenses, the amount of $900. All those in favor? Opposed? So moved. And then to wrap this department up, we have fixed costs. We have the new annex costs in there and a small decrease overall.
Correct. Some of the savings, we're anticipating, one of the problems with moving in a new place is you have no data to go by for utilities. The good news is the annex is hopefully more energy efficient than the previous building. We also have no shared utilities. The old building, it was a couple of shared systems and we paid estimated amounts. This building, at least we'll know exactly what we're paying in heating, cooling, and electricity. Everything is completely separate the way it should be. And this time next year, we should have some much sharper numbers for you. But we have to try to put in a number that works for this year, just sort of estimating based on square footage and so on.
Any questions on these numbers? This is all the annex-related costs and postage and landlines and...
The postage, we do the bulk of the mailing for every department in the city. One of the functions of public property is the mail comes in, goes out through our office. It's part of my staff's job. And there's an inter-office mailbox there where the mail inside the city circulates around.
Any further questions? Counselor Flynn?
Through the chair on the electricity bill, how many buildings does that take care of?
I believe it's just the annex.
That's it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Well, I should add, the oil heat is City Hall.
City Hall, right.
And Council on Aging.
Okay.
And there's a janitor in there, part-time janitor that's Council on Aging that I think is being moved to a full-time position with the anticipation of the new senior center opening, and that person will be full-time at that point to take care of the new building.
Any further questions? None? Somebody wants to make a motion?
Motion to approve.
Counselor Fury moves to approve the public property fixed cost budget, $687,524. Seconded by Counselor Peterson. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Tom.
And so,
Looks like we're getting a lecture.
yep, we're sticking with alphabetical order, and he remembers his alphabet. John knows his alphabet, so
Good evening, ladies. Your Honor.
How's it going,
Finance
John?
Director, how are you? Good evening, councils.
section 17. The man with the bucket trucks. Alright. And electrical, minimal change, but if you want to take us through some of it?
Okay. Basically, what we're responsible for, for the new councils, I think Tim knows it And I've talked to Council Peterson on several occasions, so I think she's getting up to speed in regards to what we do. We're responsible for all the traffic lights in the city, all the fire alarm throughout the city. The electrical inspections are done by our department. We work in conjunction with the fire department, as Tim knows, in regards to emergency response calls and keeping up the fire alarm system throughout the city. We have upgraded Derby Street on the LED lighting project over last year. That was a concern of some of the councils and the mayor. And I think we saw major improvements on that. I looked at that myself on a couple of different occasions and find that to be satisfactory. I hope everybody else finds it that way, because the improvement is pretty noticeable. There are a couple of concerns that we are looking into in regards to that, and the Raleigh Plaza area is a little underlit at this time. Like, the lighting is coming towards the end of their spectrum. Like, they were pretty much warranted for like 10 years. And the life expectancy is just about exceeded their limit and coming upon the 10 years. The other project we're looking into is Bridge Street, the other side, not the bypass road, but Bridge Street itself. Those are still 175 metal halide lamps. We want to reduce those to 100 watt LEDs, which will give us the same output on the lumen side of things. And I currently have negotiations with Generide and Capital Improvements. She's working on that project. So I think we're going to be able to see something come to a fruition on that side of things. One of the other things we're working on is the smart signal concept. And we've started phase one. And phase one is that we've gone from the electrical department right at 44 Lafayette Street in front of the fire station, which is the intersection of Derby Street and Lafayette Street. That'll take us up to Lafayette and Harbor. Then we go a little further out, Lafayette and Dow. Then we come back to the fire station and we work on a westerly direction. We go to Derby Street and Washington Street. Then we go in a southerly direction from Derby and Washington Street to Mill and Canal Street. Those signals will be all tied together under phase one. We're probably about 1 month away from completing phase one. And once we do that, we'll be able to activate all the timing signals in regards to adjustments. So when there's no traffic waiting in certain intersections, that the cars won't be sitting there for nothing. And it'll be more user-friendly to the pedestrians. So it's a win-win pretty much, for everybody, motorists and pedestrians. And it's a safe system. Concept 2, it will be the Bridge Street area, which will be taking place after that. We want to try to create a corridor from the MBTA station all the way up to the top side of Washington Street and Bridge Street, and keep going down to the bypass road, so that corridor flows nice and smooth, like when all the lights will be in sync, and basically when there's no cars at certain places on that particular path, traffic will move instead of just sitting there. The lights will switch over automatic without keeping people waiting. So that's the second phase. The third phase, which will be implemented, that it's not for a while. This is like probably a year and a half, almost 2-year project by the time we get it all done, but it's coming. It's in place, and it's just a matter of implementing all the parts. And the third part of it will be from Derby Street and Washington Street out to Essex Street and North Street, from Essex Street, North Street out to Federal Street. That will take care of the North Street corridor. We currently have links between Federal Street and Orange Street, right? I'm sorry, Mason Street. So that part will be coming in. So once we link all our corridors together, it should be pretty smooth traffic-wise and safety-wise for the pedestrians. So That's our newest concept. We've been working on the senior center. Inspectional services have been working together on that. Mike Letrikowski's been the lead on that, and Mike's done a great job in regards to, keeping things coordinated. We've had a lot to do with National Grid. We've had numerous inspections by all departments, electrical, plumbing, building, and the building's gonna be a building, one that you'll all be proud of. I think the mayor's taken a lead on that, and she's done a great job putting that thing together. And construction-wise, it's a great building. From inspectional services from my side, we had great contractors. We're getting our money's worth on that building, so I think all you guys will be proud of what takes place. Another thing that we're working on is the double pole issue. We just had a subcommittee meeting not too long ago, and that went well. We walked away with representatives from Verizon and from National Grid. They were very hospitable in regards to what we're asking them to do. And we're talking about wrap wires around poles, which the fire department responds to daily too, because the fact is, people don't know what kind of wires they are. Like when somebody sees a wire down, they call the fire department. We don't know if it's electrical, whether it's telephone, so they have to respond to it, just to make sure it's safe for the general public. So that's huge, because there must be 50 poles that I know of that with wires wrapped around it and coiled up, like I'm sure you people have noticed it yourself as well. And so I think we've taken huge steps in regards to getting all that extra garbage removed from the poles that we don't need and nobody wants to look at. And people, like I said, are unsure whether it's electrical lines. A lot of people don't know if they're telephone, electrical, whatever. So that's step. Now, as a result of that meeting, double poles, you'll see them rapidly going away this year. I think National Grid has made a commitment to removing the poles. Verizon's on board, and now we have some we have to do. My crew is going to be directed to remove our fire alarm cables to the new poles. So that's taking place. So within the next month or so, we'll be aggressively attacking that part of it, so that Comcast can come in and Verizon can come in and take out the poles. The new agreement that we have with National Grid and Verizon is that National Grid sets the poles and Verizon removes the poles. Before, it used to be Verizon set the poles, everybody else got off, then they would take it, National Grid would take out the poles. So that's been changed somewhat, so I think as a result, in 3 or 4 months, that most of the double poles will be gone.
Any questions for John? Or?
Anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to
Councilor
answer.
Peterson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hear you. That's a kind of a combo question for John and the mayor. So it looks like you had submitted for an increase, pretty sizable from this year, and then what is submitted here to us today is pretty even with what you had last year or this last year. Can you talk about what, I understand that we can't increase, in our capacity, but what the sacrifice is from your perspective? To
Oh,
sort of
okay.
keep the
I think
level
there was like
budget.
$5,000 that was a little different in one line in regards to building, electrical, yeah, and the mayor explained that to me, what she wanted to do, and I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
Well, I think there was a request for a new position as well.
Yes.
So that was.
Well, I was gonna bring that
Yeah,
up.
sorry.
Yeah,
That was
it's okay.
something that I would love to provide a new position. I think the department's really busy, is doing extraordinary work. John has tackled taking on the streetlights, taking on smart signals. There's a lot of work coming out of that department. We're just, given the concern we have for trying to balance the budget and try and keep taxes affordable, it wasn't something that we could afford to do this year.
Okay.
So that's the bulk of it, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Councilor Flynn?
I'd just like to say, I work with John and his crew, and it's a very tight budget, and we're very lucky to have you for what you do. You're out all the time, 24/7, and I applaud you for your work. Really do a fine job.
Thank you.
Best electrical department, I
Appreciate
bet, at North Shore. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Ferry.
I'll piggyback on that. Since your service as city councilor here, the electrical department has transformed itself into the 21st century. It's amazing it's come so far. From the Christmas lighting that affects all of us during the Christmas season, to the pumps and the lighting at the museum fountain out front. And the other department is very visible, very vital. All your smart trafficking, everything you do, it's come a long way from when you served on this city council to where we are now. We're very lucky to have your leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor, appreciate that.
Councilor Peterson.
I move that we accept the budget of $779,258 for the electrical department.
Councilor
Second.
Peterson moves approval. Councilor Flynn seconds. Seeing no further discussion on Councilor Peterson's motion that we accept the electrical personnel and expenses budget, $779,258. All those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Thank you, John.
You're welcome. Thank you, councilors.
Thank you, Mr. John. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks,
We're very
John.
lucky.
Thank you, man.
All right.
Thanks, Lori.
All right, and now we're on to health. Which is number 16.
Let's fall asleep.
Larry is fully engaged now that the EPL season is over. All right. You guys want to kick things off?
Good evening, councilors. You have my budget before you. I'm sure that you would have read all the details in it, just some things that are not in there. Within the last year, we've had 2 inspectors who were recertified as lead determinators. 2 were recertified as certified pool operators. 1 was scheduled to complete a registered sanitarians exam. 2 were certified as recertified as food managers, and we have 1 new licensed lead determinators. My inspection staff have to carry at minimum 5 credentials, or have to be trained in 5 specific areas. The health department is responsible for 6 general laws, 17 state regulations, and those are with specific responsibilities as against lines or sections in a general law or regulation. We're also responsible for 29 Board of Health regulations. We're in the business of prevention, so a lot of what we do, you don't see, but you are, it is having impact on your daily lives. So you're not running around a town with a lot of smog, or there's a massive outbreak of foodborne illnesses or communicable diseases in town as a consequence of a lot of what we do. We can't claim 100% credit for it, but we do have a significant impact in ensuring these things do happen. The one major change in the budget, on the advice of the finance director and the assistant finance director, we moved $500 from the nurse dental med service line to a nurse traveling line, because we were always paying traveling out of that. But to keep things really neat and tidy, it was thought that we create a specific line for that so that nurse traveling will come from there as against someplace else.
And I know that there's an addition of $50,000 to handle rental property expenses for
Right.
as per the new ordinance that we created a few months ago. Questions of the committee? Councilor Fury.
Yes, please, Mr. Chairman. Having lost my only grandson at 22 years old of opioid abuse on his own birthday, your leadership is really instrumental in the cities and towns of Lane, Swampscott, Marblehead, Heberty, and Lynn. You took the leadership role, and I think it's credit to you and the Board of Health and the Substance Abuse Committee to make a human face out of it all. I really appreciate your leadership. Turning the whole Board of Health into a professional department to the 21st century there. On a personal level, I thank you very highly from a human face, seeing what happened to opioid abuse to my own individual family. You've taken the task and made it very professional and very making a difference in so many lives, parents and teachers and police department, your coordination between cities and towns. We're all affected. It's a lifelong addiction problem, a disease, mental disease, health disease, and thank you very much for your leadership.
Thank you. Before we go further, councillors, the one major thing I wanted to point out that we accomplished this year with funding with a state project. I led a project that developed an operations manual for health departments. And when staff get a question, someone calls in and you can't remember all the areas that you have responsibility for, there's a manual that will tell you asbestos, what do I need for asbestos, trash, food safety. It's all there. It's a very comprehensive guide. It took us about 9 months to complete it, but I served as the lead and technical advisor to the entire project.
Thank you.
Councilor Peterson, any question? Or? No? Anyone, if nobody has any other question, I'll take a motion. Councilor Peterson?
I move to accept the health department budget of $553,593.
Second.
Councilor Peterson moves to accept the health personnel and expenses of $553,593, seconded by Councilor Fury. Being no further discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved. That leaves us with Lori. We're all set.
Thank you very much.
Still here.
Man, that was quick. You get the
That wasn't too bad.
quickest budget time frame.
You make it easy.
Yeah, no.
You are number
6.
The finance department budget used to be much bigger many years ago because things like IT were in it. So,
Wow.
What was that?
Yeah, that's
the
ridiculous.
first couple of years. Section 6.
6, thank you.
8-50.
All right.
So there were a couple of changes, I think, over last year with regard to salaries. As you are probably aware, our department was, I'm new, we just hired Morgan, who is the new accounting assistant. There was a lot of turnover this past year. So this is, in the last month, we've had a full contingency of staff. So this is, we're very excited about where we're going into the future. So it's nice to have Nina, who has a lot of institutional knowledge and years of experience, and having some newer staff coming in who are excited about learning and have certain knowledge that will help us make our department better than it already is.
So the salary adjustments you see are just reflective of the actual staff salaries. So there's a slight increase to reflect what we're paying the newer individuals, both Lori this year and Morgan, who's also new. Other than that, there's no additional changes. And you'll see a reduction on the non-personnel side that also takes into consideration changes in some of the contracted services. So overall, the budget's up 2%, which is pretty consistent with what we've seen across the board.
Any questions, members of the committee? And Councilor Fury.
Just a comment here too. Institutional knowledge is so critical in the department. And Nina brings that institutional knowledge, which is a great help to you coming on board. And your knowledge and your experience and your portfolio. It's just a nice, seamless team. It makes our job easy and the mayor's job easy. To have you and Nina covering us tonight, all the meetings there. How lucky we are to have you. Thank you, Nina. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we've been working very well together.
Great team. Great team.
Thank you.
I should also point out the budget before you has a lot harder, there's a lot more information and a lot more rigor involved in it following the Government Finance Officers Association or GFOA standards for both this and the CAFRA. That's largely dealt with by the finance team in terms of putting this together. But if you go to other communities, if they're not using a GFOA budget, you don't have this level of detail, you don't have the level of information with respect to the capital project and the planning that goes forward, or the statistics and data to back that up. So I want to commend the finance team that we have and the standards that we've set. I was kibitzing with a colleague of mine for a community that will remain nameless, who literally they submit, a stack of budget documents that are maybe an inch thick tops. And it's not very transparent. It doesn't feel like you're having a good discussion. You're not getting input. You're not talking in real terms about what you're doing, but that's how they consistently have done it. And
I've had people
that's what they do.
Complain that we give too much detail.
There's something to be said for that. But frankly, we'd rather have you have too much information. It's not our money. It's not my money, right? It's everybody's money who we're all concerned about and trying to work for. So, but it's a lot to put it together. It's a lot to make sure a budget isn't just a group of numbers, right? It's a set of priorities. It's thinking about what we're planning for. And I don't think this is perfect. I don't think our budgets will ever be perfect, but we really strive for it to be accurate, for it to be reflective of where we're going as a community, and to have input from people. And the budgets do change from year to year based on what we're hearing, both through resident surveys, through our feedback with counselors, and priorities that we know are important going forward. So.
Councilor Peterson.
Thank you. Can you please clarify what a GFOA budget is?
Yeah.
Like what that means? And kind of a follow-on question to that is, it sounds like it's a lot more robust than the alternatives.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, are we investing in it in the sense that we are paying extra staff than we would if we were doing it a different way?
No, so let me just tackle them in order. So GFOA, Government Finance Officers Association, is a national, it might be international, I know at least national group that works with finance departments in cities, counties, states, at all levels to set up standards for best practices and how to approach budgeting. So for someone who's kind of a budget geek like myself, it's really a great opportunity for, when I came here, we didn't follow GFOA standards, to ensure that the practices that we were following as a community were reflective of the priorities that we have as a city. And one of which was open and inclusive government, one of which was using our document as a planning tool so that you're doing some short range and long-term planning. And also, managing the resource that you have as well as effectively as you can. There are lots of communities that don't do the CIP planning that we do. There are lots of, so then you have a bunch of emergencies that come in that are unforeseen. That happens every once in a while for us, but we try to avoid that. That isn't really being thoughtful around their capital planning needs versus wants. Some of the conversation we had, I think, at the last budget hearing, and isn't saying no. The budgets I give to you, we spend a lot of time carving down because there's a lot more things, some of which I would love to fund. I'd love to have another electrical inspector. Larry didn't mention it, but he asked for additional admin and health inspectors, right? we are also trying to keep our budget affordable, and you have the whole lens when you go through a GFOA. So those individuals know what they need for their department, but we have to look at the whole comprehensive needs going into the budget. So the standards they set up in terms of operating procedures, you actually have to have your budget approved. So when we're done every year, this budget gets submitted, and they determine whether or not we're meeting properly GFOA standards, both in how it's set up and the programming that goes into it and the data that you're collecting as part of your budget process. So it's an informed budget, being thoughtful and looking ahead. And then they issue something called Distinguished Budget Awards. If you're meeting those standards, they're pretty rigorous, then you receive that. We've received it, I think, the last 10 years in a row, 9, 10, something like that. Since we've been here, like, this is now the standard. This is how we do a budget. We also have something, they also give out something called Certificates of Excellence, bless you, for your financial reporting. So it helps reflect on, hey, where is the money that you have? How are you managing that? Doesn't mean that you have as much money as you might like in the bank, but the money that you do have, you're managing well. We get a Certificate of Excellence every year for our CAF, for our financial reporting process. That came on the heels of deficits and, munis tampering and all sorts of things that were going on somewhat inappropriately beforehand. I think there are now 12 communities, maybe 16 communities in Massachusetts, last count, that have both a Distinguished Budget Award and a Certificate of Excellence for financial reporting. There's extra work that goes into it, but it's work that you should be doing if you're doing a budget right, anyway. You do have to submit it. Nina would tell you it's a huge pain in the neck, which it probably is. Maybe this much of a pain in the neck because we've been doing it for a while. But I'd like to think that it makes us not get lazy and sort of be better at budgeting. And I don't think we'll ever be perfect because it's not a perfect science, but we're certainly striving to make it a better process, better understand what our needs are, and not have surprises and blips where you guys walk into something that is very unforeseen and we're not conscious of it. So.
Councilor Fury.
From a different lens, on Student Government Day, when we had Student Government Day, we're used to the professionalism that you bring to the office and you bring to the office. But when you brought the students into your office, and they dropped everything, show the kids, the future generation, what government is on the local level.
Yeah.
If you watch their eyes and watch their expressions of, wow, the 21st century in the second oldest city hall, here we are, in your office, and how organized your office is, and your office is so organized, you go into the figures. They were so impressed. So it was nice to see through a young person's eyes, Student Government Day, to see your office and to see your office, and it was really beautiful to see.
Just like if they don't see the mayor's office, they're good.
Great team.
Any further questions? Seeing
Motion
none.
approved.
Councilor Fury makes a motion to approve the finance, personnel, and expenses budget of $355,590. Seconded by Councilor Peterson. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved. All right, and now if somebody would make one final motion.
Motion adjourned.
Councilor Fury moves we are to
Thank you very
adjourn.
much.
We
Thank you.
are adjourned.